I started in a job as a 30-year-old. I went for a job as an economist, and I went for an interview and I didn't get the job. And the man who interviewed me was the managing director and the owner of the business. And a month later he rang me up and said, look, I have another job. I'm really interested in what you offer. It's to manage my office, to be the company secretary, and I'll teach you how to be a consultant, which is what I wanted. I accepted the job. On day one I turned up and I was introduced to another director who I hadn't met.
Yep.
And he didn't know that I had been employed. And I realised I was in trouble. Because my job was supposedly to manage the projects, but deep down what the real job was to manage the tension between the two directors. Very early on I was berated by the managing director, and I realised that everyone in the office hated him. And everyone was on the other side, the other director's side.
Right.
And so I had to decide as a young man, so what do I do here? So I consciously went to see the managing director one-on-one, and I said, look, you can't ever do that to me again.
Yep.
In that public environment. That humiliation does not, you will probably, I actually told him that most people didn't like him.
Yeah.
I told him that there was a war going on, and the war doesn't need to go on if we look after everyone. So I made a pact with him that if he never humiliated me publicly again, I'd support him.
Right.
And work in this task that I had.
So
and
the reciprocity.
The reciprocity.
Yeah.
And thankfully, so what ended up happening 3 or 4 years later is it was very successful. The business did split. That other director took nearly everyone,
Right.
bar me and 3 other people. But when that original business folded, I actually got a job with that other director. So I was very consciously wanting to build a coalition that didn't exclude anybody.
Right.
And I had to work in a very non-political way.
Yep.
I had to respect everybody and be seen to be supporting. So it's just one example where,
Good example.
and I had another one when I was younger. I got a job at one of the large transport companies. This was back in the 80s or 90s, I think, and we used to go to have a lunch out. And one of the directors used to come to lunch, and you could call him his first name at lunch.
Yeah.
But if you ever called him his first name in the office, he would totally ignore you. So I learnt very quickly that the map of relationships was he was John at lunch, but he was Mr. Price when I got to work.
Right.
And so that was a very good learning for me because I didn't understand the formalities of how now.
Because not everyone was at that lunch.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And formalities today are almost gone. That sort of approach is almost gone. You very rarely, as you said, in Australia, in another country you'd be called professor.
Right.
In Australia, you're you.
Yeah.